Welcome to Inside the 18. I'm Michael Magid, live from Hollywood, California. With me, you know her as 99 World Cup winner, Saskia Weber, UCLA goalkeeper coach, Angel City co-owner, all the hats that you got going on right there. The one and only Saskia Weber. No Omar Zini Pro GK Academy today because he's busy withering away in the Vegas sun, preparing for their game. It's like 120 degrees there, Sask. It's hot. It's hot there. He's got to prep for that game against Oakland Roots tomorrow, but that's okay because we're joined by an amazing guest panelist today, guys. You guys know her as the illustrious penalty kick taker for Racing Louisville. We have goalkeeper Katie Lund joining us. Katie, what's up?
Hello.
I'm honestly really excited about this. I'm not going to lie. I mean, talk about a way. I mean, for those of you guys who are unfamiliar a little bit out there, Katie showcased her striking skills this past summer in the Women's Cup against Bayern Munich. And Katie, my favorite whole thing about that is that people joke. They're like, what, did Bayern Munich not watch the 2014 high school girls soccer season in Texas?
Yeah. No, they probably didn't.
So why don't you catch up maybe some people out there who might not kind of be familiar with kind of your journey and everything like that from TCU obviously to Washington and now to Racing Louisville, how everything's kind of worked out for you so far?
Yeah, so I went to TCU for 3 years, played there, and then I transferred to Arkansas for my 5th year to get my master's degree. And then after Arkansas, I entered the draft. Didn't get drafted, but a couple days later I heard from the Washington Spirit. So I immediately signed with the Washington Spirit, spent 1 year there, which is how I knew Ian. And I think you guys have had him on here before. And then I got picked up in the expansion draft for Racing Louisville, and now I'm here.
I mean, you're not just there. I mean, you've already like made an impact, and Saskia, this is a conversation that you have in regards to with your goalkeepers. I mean, even just this past weekend, you had one of your backup goalkeepers, get in the match. The simple fact is that you got to grab these opportunities when you get them, and keep showcasing your development.
Yeah, and absolutely. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right, I can't hear myself. So.
We can hear you.
Whoa. All right. So yes, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Like we have to allow backup goalkeepers and everybody to get their time in.
Yeah.
I can't hear anything.
You can't hear anything. You can't hear anything through the headphones.
No.
Do you? So okay, no worries. Well, I mean, so we'll just move on then in regards to. And by the way, Katie, feel free to step in anytime. It's not a Q&A or anything like that, but obviously we've talked to Ian, we've talked to Sergio and everything like that, and as somebody who's in a backup situation, especially coming into your first years as a professional and everything like that, it is really about whatever you get those opportunities to get game minutes to utilize them how you did. And I even saw when Mish had to come out of the game and you had to come in, it seemed like she was very encouraging about you going out there and you showcasing that this is a reason you're playing at this level.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you come from college knowing you're playing every second, and then you go to the pros and it's kind of a different transition where, you have to accept other roles. And I think, Mish supporting me in that moment and in that game was really huge for us and for our growth going forward. Obviously, it's a competitive environment and we're competing against each other, but I think that the support from both of us is key to, not just enjoying ourselves, but also getting better, and also having Sergio there to push both of us and not just the starter. So I was just super grateful to have her support, and I mean, the whole club's during that time.
I mean, look, I think obviously this is a situation where, and for those of you guys who are unfamiliar with what I'm referring to the fact that during the Women's Cup, Racing Louisville, had a match against Bayern Munich, and Michelle had to come out of the game. Katie came into the game, and then it went to a penalty kick situation. I mean, obviously in front of 8,000 people or whatever type of scenario that is against, one of the better teams in the world. And look, that's what you've been training for. You've been training for those opportunities to be able to get into that environment, and was it one of those things where you're like, well, because I've been able to, I had that time with Aubrey, the past year, before that.
Yeah.
And, obviously this year with, another veteran like Betos, they've prepared me to be able to be comfortable in that situation.
Yeah. And I think learning under Obs and Ian with Devin last year at the Spirit was such an awesome experience for me. I got to learn from all the best. And I was joking with Obs like, oh, I'm so grateful for you. I feel like I've learned so much from you. And now to come and have Michelle's experience, I don't think I could have gotten a better group. And so my path has definitely been super helpful in giving me the experience and the confidence to know that, if something were to happen to me, I'm ready and I could do it. So it was a really special moment for me.
And I think a lot of things too is, obviously, and we're going to get into the topic in a second, but just kind of because I find this, inspiring to a lot of, young players out there, when they hear the stories of yourself, I don't think a lot of players out there understand how difficult it is with such a limited amount of slots to get drafted and then get picked up in a training camp, that you really, really, really do have to recognize the fact that it's about you putting yourself in a position. You good, Susk?
Yeah, I'm good.
Oh, we can hear you. We can hear you again. Yep. Can you hear us?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, cool. We were just kind of talking about the fact with Katie that, there's so few slots in NWSL in regards to the draft that a lot of young players, they get frustrated by the fact that they may not get drafted, but it's really about getting invited into a camp and really showcasing that you belong in the league.
Yeah. I mean, you have to look at it at a broader spectrum. Like you get brought into this. I can't
hear? No. You want to just unplug the headphones?
Yeah. You can pull a me.
Yeah. You can just unplug the headphones. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'd rather be able to hear you. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
There we go. Yeah, we can hear you. Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, the bigger picture is like, even if you get brought into this spectrum of the NWSL and everything like that, you can move on. You know what I mean? So, like, we look at how many goalkeepers have we talked to that are in Sweden, that are in these other countries, regardless of this.
Exactly. And I think that's a really good point. But you can hear us now, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Oh, Katie, we apologize for the technical difficulties.
I started it, so that's my fault.
No, it's absolutely your fault.
I bet.
We're gonna do pressure training tomorrow. It's your fault.
Oh God.
Oh my gosh. Well, guys. Speaking of pressure training, let's talk a little bit about the topic today. And guys, today's topic is kind of speed of movement. This is a kind of a topic that Sergio had actually brought up to me. Katie had said this is something that you've been working on, in regards to the past year. On improving kind of your speed of movement within the game, speed of movement within your actions, all that sort of thing. So maybe for some of the parents out there that don't know what we're talking about when we're referring to speed of movement, what do we mean by speed of movement?
Well, that's funny because I texted Serge, oh, look what we're talking about, because I didn't know that he was talking to you guys. And he was like, you got it. But in terms of speed of movement, for me, in the past couple of months, we've been really focusing on how fast I can get to the places that I need to be. Can I decelerate? Can I go faster? And so speed of movement is not just how fast you can get there, but can you get there in a position where you can make saves and you can be successful, because everyone can get to a position. It just depends on how fast, but you also have to be set and ready to go. And I think for me, as a 6'1" person, it's a little different than it is for other people. So that's what I think.
But I love the fact that you brought that up in regards to your physical qualities, your physical characteristics are also going to determine how you move and your speed of movement. And Saskia, this is a conversation that we've had, consistently, not just on the show, but also, in regards to when you're working with your own goalkeepers too, is that you can't expect somebody to move the same way another player does who might be built completely differently. And that's going to affect how you move within that action.
Yeah, I think that one of the biggest mistakes young goalkeeper coaches out there and goalkeepers out there is that you can't fit everybody into a box. It's not gray. So, depending on your height, depending on this, everything moves differently.
Yeah. Can you hear it? You can't hear us? You can't hear us at all? Okay. Oh man. Well, this is fun. Oh man, I feel so bad. I'm so sorry, Katie.
No.
This is happening right now. Well, but I think another thing too, though, Katie, in regards to speed of movement, a lot of young goalkeepers out there think that speed of movement means moving as fast as possible. And because they're trying to move as fast as possible, they're not really moving within the speed of the game. They're actually moving either too fast or too slow for the game.
Yeah, and I think something that I've really been working on is even if I can't get there fast or I'm trying to cover more ground, it might not help me. So, for example, Serge and I have been working on, I have to be going fast, but also I need to set earlier. Like, even if I think I can get to a position where I can be successful, sometimes you have to set early and just go instead of running all the way across, because by the time you're running across, the ball's already being hit. And so it's finding a balance of, can you be composed? Can you be balanced? But can you be in a good enough position to make a save?
I think that is the really key right there, like in regards to being in a good position to make the save. Because again, if you have the right angle, if you have the right set position, if you have the right shape, all of those sorts of things, you're already ahead of the game. And then the speed, that's just you about adjusting to the game speed. I mean, obviously, when you came from Arkansas, over to Washington, the speed of play was so much higher. It wasn't that you couldn't play at that level. It was a simple matter of that you needed the time for your body to adjust to the speed of play. And then once it became accustomed to it, it started reacting in appropriate time.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's definitely a lot faster. You have less time to think about what you're going to do. And it's those split decision moments that you have to train and to be ready for. And I think that's the difference between college and the pros for me.
Yeah, and I think honestly, like one of the things about that too is that change of speed, having that understanding of like, okay, when I need to make that dynamic move, and when I need to hold and be patient, and obviously Mish is very good at this. She's very good at being patient and holding and waiting, and then all of a sudden being explosive. But that just takes time. That just takes time and experience at that level dealing with those scenarios.
Right.
Yeah.
I think for me, continuing to work on it in practice and having the game experience will really help me in terms of when to stay, when to be patient. And I think young goalkeepers are pretty eager to go or to make a different movement when you could just simply stay there, or you can just back up. And so Serge will laugh. That's just like really what we're working on. And I mean, sometimes it's hard. You just want to go, but it's definitely super important to my development going forward.
I mean, look, I think the thing is that, like, I mean, I don't know about you, but for me, I have a tendency to, for lack of a better term, move in my own head at a certain speed.
Yeah.
But the reality of what's actually going on in the game is a little bit different. Is that something that you've ever had to deal with? Because that's kind of like, and I think the problem with that is that it's like we're conceptualizing the scenarios rather than dealing with the moment at hand. I mean, you're like, oh my God, so and so's playing this, so they're going to play it like this or whatever, which is cool to anticipate and everything like that. But you still have to be present.
Yeah, and I think anticipating can kind of get you into a trouble situation where you're doing the wrong thing. And so I think the touch of the ball is so important, being engaged and active, knowing what's going on instead of just watching the ball, watching other people's movements, not predicting, but just being ready for the ball to come or for you to make a different movement is super, super important.
Now, what about change of speed? Because that's something that I think a lot of young goalkeepers have issues with, is like they start going at a certain speed. Yeah. And then either the run is off, or the weight of the ball isn't what they expected, and then they can't adjust within the action. Is that something that you've been working on once you gotten to the professional level?
I think, change of speed is super important. For me, watching the ball, watching the person that has the ball instead of just anticipating, what's going to happen. And so for me, previously, I feel like sometimes I have way too big of movements where, since I have really long legs, my steps aren't small enough. And so I think for me, working on the smaller steps to where I can decelerate, accelerate with smaller steps and setting early is super important. Because I feel like back to my point earlier, a lot of goalkeepers will just go, but you have to set early. And for me, that's been key in my development, is just setting early, knowing where the ball is and reading, the player that has the ball.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. Like that is like one of my biggest issues is like, I literally, if I start going, I keep going.
Yeah.
And I'm not like focused on like, I'm focused on like that. And it's just spastic, and like, I think that is something that, is a mental skill set. It's a mental skill set that I've even seen it when you, in regards to even your own training, I mean, Sergio sent me some of your session tape and stuff, and don't worry, it's all good stuff. But like you need to, take that moment, take that breath and go, okay, who's in control of this scenario? Am I in control of this scenario, or am I giving them control of the scenario? And I think a lot of times I give them control because I'm going 100 miles an hour and they're recognizing that. And they're like, oh, I changed my speed and then I've got them.
Yeah. I think another thing that we really work on is the cutbacks. And so when they're cutting the ball back into the center and you've got to move left or right really fast, I feel like a lot of us just want to keep going the direction that we're in, when they could easily play the ball back. So you have to be set early so that you could go right or left. For me, I sometimes get caught going too fast to my left, and then he plays it to my right, and I'm not balanced, I'm not set, and I can't get there. Whereas if I am balanced and I'm set and I set early, I can get there. So it's that change of movement that is super important.
See, that change of movement is, I think, in my opinion, like that's the most important thing when it comes to goalkeeping, because I find that like the best goalkeepers can decelerate just as quickly as they can accelerate, and again, that's that, as Omar always talks about, that fast approach, that slow arrival. Well, you have to, because eventually if you want to be set and you want to be able to make an effective action, you're going to have to stop moving.
Yes.
I don't mean like staying still.
Unless you're lucky and it goes the same way you're going, but when you're in the pros, that's pretty rare.
See, but that's the problem. Is I think that's the problem. Is I think a lot of young goalkeepers, because they're athletic, let's say, they start moving very fast, and then they start making these plays, and they're almost manifesting the other player panicking, because at the level that they're playing at, that's just what they do, and so they start thinking, oh, all I have to do is just run at these players, and I'm gonna make the save, type of thing. Yeah. But as you know, obviously, players become a lot more depth than that. I want to talk about this though. I want to talk about just body shape in general with your set, because I think one thing that was brought up, I think it was a couple weeks ago on a show, and I forgot who brought it up, but they basically said, they're like, you have to be effective with your movements. And let's say you're 6'1", right?
Yeah.
So if there's a play that's going in low and the ball's coming in within a reasonable distance of you, chances are, if you go with a block with the foot, it's going to be more effective than you trying to get down low with your hands in that scenario.
Yeah.
Whether somebody who's a little more lower to the ground, maybe it would be more effective for them for them to drive that shoulder down into the ground. And I think a lot of that determines how quickly you move. If somebody's trying to tell you, no, Katie, you're supposed to go down right here, but your arms are, I'm not exactly sure what your wingspan is. I'm assuming, it's a good solid. Yeah, exactly. Jeez, not even close to. Yeah, I have like.
It won't fit in the frame, so that's when it's pretty long.
No way. Are you serious?
Yeah. Can you see both of my arms? Wait.
Yeah, I can definitely see both your arms.
Yeah.
You're doing the whole angel. Oh my God.
They're long.
See, you're so lucky. I've got like my wingspan's probably like 4 feet. I don't even know what it is, but anyway. So like for me, I need to go down because like, I need to go down quickly because, but your arms would literally take too long to get down there, type of a thing.
Especially the balls that are going really close to my feet. It's hard for me to get my hands there. And so if I am balanced and I am set, I can just make a kick save. And I think it's still very effective. But what I've learned is if I am still moving and I'm not set and I'm, too high up, and I'm like leaning back, I'm not making that save. I'm still not making the kick save. And so I think when you are moving, you have to be in a position where you could make a save at any point, no matter if you're still moving or not. Something we talked about is like when we did an example where you're back setting and you're ready to make a like save. But for me, I was using my arms to go like this while I was moving. And as he's kicking the ball, my arms are still like this. And so for me, I had to realize I have long arms. I have to back up within my set position, like very close to it. So I think it just depends on who you are and how you move and what works for you. Because I think the main difference between me and Michelle is some things may work for her, but they don't work for me. So it's kind of finding the balance of what works for you.
Yeah. And I think that is the most important thing, what works for you, because so many people out there, and, and we've had this conversation. It's unfortunate that Saskia's having the technical issues, because she talked about how she had somebody recently come up to her and say, oh, your goalkeeper needs to blah, 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 do this, do that, or whatever, based on the concept of how they see goalkeeping. And Saskia's remark is like, but it's being effective for them, and it's always been effective for them. So why would I try to change something? And I think a lot of young coaches, this is where the struggle happens between young players and young coaches, because young coaches don't have the experience to recognize that players need to be able to explore and learn their body. Yeah. And then also players are getting frustrated because coaches are trying to get them to do stuff that doesn't become successful for them. Yeah. And then they start getting in their head about how effective they are.
Yeah. I think for me, especially during college, I was just really lanky and it worked for me and I was athletic. And then when I met Ian, he'll joke about this. Like when I got up from saves, I used to cross my legs and he was like, I don't think you should do that. And I'm like, seriously? So we worked on like trying not to do it. And because it became successful, I rode with it. But if it didn't, I feel like we would have found a different way for me to get up quick. But I think it was him suggesting I fix something and seeing if it actually worked. And if it didn't, obviously I could just do what I wanted. But he wasn't like forcing me to do it that way. And I was really grateful for that because I didn't even pick up on that. But it also wasn't like, you have to do it this way.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's the most important thing is like, I think a lot of young coaches out there listening to this right now is that bottom line is that you need to kind of look at any information that you're giving to a player. And again, I'm not the end all with ends all within goalkeeping. And I don't want you to think that I'm just telling everybody how you're supposed to be doing things. But yeah. I think Katie can address for this, that when you're a higher level player, you look at information that's being given by a coach as suggestions or information right. to allow you to explore what's going to be successful, what's going to work for you rather than what I want you to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, there's a question in here. Actually, I want to throw this one up here, right here, from Alex Campos in Cincinnati, and he goes, "How long do you allow for changes to become successful before moving away from them?"
Oh, good question.
Great question, Alex.
I don't really know if there's a specific answer to that. I just feel like it's, how it works for you. Like for me, I would like to say I'm a fast learner, but some topics I'm not a fast learner on. And so I feel like if it's doing more bad than good for an extended period of time and you aren't confident, you're losing confidence, you're getting frustrated, maybe that's when you look at something else. I don't know. What would you say?
I mean, personally, I think what it is that a lot of people give up on something early right, because it's not being effective because they say, oh, okay, I can't do this. I can't do it, especially with young goalkeepers. Oh, I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't do this. I think, honestly, you have to start seeing progress. If you're not seeing a progression, if you're not seeing any sort of, success, and it doesn't even have to be making saves. It's just like, oh, I got closer this time, or like I'm getting more comfortable doing this. Otherwise you're going to have goalkeepers, Alex, in my opinion, who are going to be like, yeah, man, I've been trying to play with my left foot for like the last month. I think I'm done with that. Not doing that anymore. Never going to play with my left foot for the rest of my life. And you can't do that, so it has to be within reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to do this right now. I want to pop up some of these sessions right here.
Third
bear
set
with me.
sent me some clips, so I don't.
Oh, he did. Oh, he did. He definitely did. So
Okay.
we're gonna pop these up right here. Let me find this here. Boom. Hold on. We're gonna mute that. All right, and we are going to go to about. Let's see here. Okay, so right about here. So I'm gonna pause this real quick. So basically, this first play right here is I think it's like a 32. Oh no, actually, you know what? This is the wrong one. This is not the one I wanted to show. So let me get rid of that. This is man, we're all over the place today. What is there a full moon going on? Like what is going on? This
I
is
don't know. I started it. I feel bad. It was me.
No, you didn't start it. Okay. So there we go. Okay, so this is what I kind of want to show right here. So basically, first one is it's just around the mannequin, close distance, clean handle, and contain. So I want everyone to kind of see. Boom. But not that one right there. Here's a clean one. Boom, catch. Look at that shape right there. So first stuff I love with this movement right here is that obviously you're coming from behind the mannequin.
Mm-hmm.
So if we start there, if everybody can kind of see here where you're coming from. Yeah. So around the mannequin and out. Now, what is kind of your understanding of that right there? Are you doing that to be able to deal with like you're out of position and now you have to go up high to get a little bit better set position and then react to that close range shot?
Yeah, and then you have to just be able to move your feet quick instead of just step right into the shot.
Yeah.
The ball moved or something like that. And so for here, we are working on quick steps around the mannequin instead of lunging out large and getting there too early to where I'm just standing there unbalanced. And so it's about the timing of getting there and being able to be set, but not just standing there, because for me, I can't just stand there and I'll just, so I feel like getting there at the right time and being in a set position where my hands are out there and I'm ready for the save.
And I think here's the really good thing about that right now. First off is that positive shape right there, because I think that's one of the biggest issues when it comes to speed of movement is that negative shape. A young goalkeeper would come in, let's say, right here. Let's see one more play after this, but right there, right?
Yeah.
They would throw their arms back as they're coming into it. And there's again, I know the arm swing is a thing that people do or whatever, but I'm personally of the belief that once you step into a set, that positive shape has to be there in order for you to keep that positive movement once the shot is hit.
Right.
Well, that was
being able to be controlled. So when he does hit it, I'm not leaning back to where I'm just reaching for things.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And then obviously the absorption here, because the thing is that if you stay positive right there, even if you go negative, if you contain it and you keep that absorption right there, and obviously, we had Ian McCalden on a few weeks ago talking about containment, but it really is about containment as opposed to, catching. I think that's one of the biggest problems when it comes to speed of movement that young goalkeepers have is they think they need to move fast to catch the ball or to parry the ball, but it's really about either containing the ball or playing it into a good space. And if you move at the right speed, you're going to be able to do that. If you move too fast or too slow, that's when you're going to bobble stuff.
Yeah, if you get there too fast and you're not ready and you're not balanced, I mean, there's no point in getting there that fast. So finding the balance of when, yeah.
So I want to move to this right here. So this is, let's see here if I can get here. Bum, 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 bum. All right, I always talk to myself, so apologize for that. Okay, here. So this is what's happening, I think. So it's shift one direction from the backside, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then around the mannequin for pick squeed and clean handle. So you have to change direction quick, recover, and set right there. Great shape, by the way, right there. I think that's awesome. So is this something that has been difficult? You talk about, obviously, you've been working on those small steps type of a thing. Yeah. This is forcing you, right, to make those small steps and then make that shift.
Yeah. Instead of going too big, I'm like going smaller to get there, but I'm also like ready for the ball and I'm watching him because he's not telling us to set. You're just setting when you feel like you should be setting. So you have to get there quick enough to be able to set, but you can't get there too fast to where you're just standing there.
Yeah. And by the way, I love the fact that once you get to there, it's that quick drive. It's that shift of body weight rather than a step. And I think that's the problem that a lot of young goalkeepers make is they instead of shifting their body weight, they try to step, but their body weight is still back. So that's when they get caught, heavy.
I also think, in the past 2 years, I've definitely had to change my shape. So leaning forward with my hands instead of staying up so straight, but not leaning too much or bending my knees too much to where I can't move. So I feel like in order to move fast, you also have to have the correct set position so that you can, you know. And I think for me, that was the biggest transition from college to the pros was I felt like I needed to fix my set position.
Yeah. And I think that's something that a lot of young goalkeepers, you know, they think, oh, I've already got this down. I've been playing at this level and it's been working for me or whatever. And then they get to a higher level and then they start getting scored on, or let's just say that, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And also the players, I mean, I'll just be straight up honest. It's like, look, even when we were talking about like with Sergio, you know, hitting these balls right here, you know, there's movement on the ball and it's coming in at a certain speed or whatever. And just at the younger ages, that's just a more comfortable save, right, you know, than at the higher levels. I want to move to this right here. So now let's shift into this right here. So now let's go into 307. And this is around the mannequin, change direction and adjust for a clean handle. But this is from the high position. So you're coming from behind, you come forward, then you're caught out of position. You've got to recover and then find the ball. Great shape, by the way. This is awesome.
I think this is kind of the point that I made earlier. When you're having to kind of back set, instead of moving your hands like this, you have to be ready. So you can't, for me, I can't be moving my hands. I have to keep them in a position where I can be ready to catch the ball instead of moving my arms backwards to get to that position.
Yeah. And see, and now the touching right there, is that something Sergio, is that a note that he gave you, or is that an activation that you're doing to teach yourself to stay forward?
No, he definitely told us to stay there, but I think it helps to kind of get your body out of position to where he's forcing us to get your shape back. Mm-hmm. Instead of just like move over there. So for me, it's helping my hands know I'm going to touch this, but then they're going to have to be back out there when I move backwards.
See, and I want to play this one more time, and I want all the young kids to see this here. Boom. Okay. See how her shape is, how it's similar to a front squat type of situation where the weight is dropping back, but her weight is still forward type of a thing. A lot of young goalkeepers, when they're given this activity, and it's no fault a lot of young coaches out there, they've got a lot of kids out there, let's say, but they're not thinking about the fact that a lot of kids, they just kind of, turn and touch, and you can't see me, but you get what I'm saying. They turn their body and then they touch, which is completely going against the natural shape of what you're going to be like in a game, because you're not going to be facing away from the play. You're going to be facing the play, but you're going to be recovering.
Yeah. And it forces you to watch the ball. You can't just be looking at the cone when you're touching it, because you have to be watching when he's going to head it, so you know when you should be setting. Yeah.
No, absolutely. Now, does the mannequin help you in regards to, because it gives you a visual aid of like, okay, there's pressure here, there's a little bit of a blockage in regards to an obstructed view, and now I've got to change my adjustment? Because a lot of young goalkeepers, I think they freak out when they've got an obstructed view because they're so literal about staying behind the ball, and they go, oh, but I'm supposed to stay behind the ball. But it's like, yeah, dude, you can't see the ball. Like, if you can't see the ball, you got to find the ball.
Yeah, I think that, and the fact that, sometimes there's going to be traffic and you've got to be able to maneuver. But also, I think it also is good for just like practice. Like, even if there is no one standing in front of you, you can catch the ball when you have something in your way. So it's like a mindset of, okay, there might not be someone in front of me, but I can still make the catch. Or if there is someone, I can still make the catch. And it's just annoying. It makes it harder. So why not?
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I think it's I think it's fun though. I wish I had the time and the energy to go out there and blow up mannequins and put the water in there and all that sort of stuff so they can be sitting out there. I think, some of you guys at the higher levels, you guys are so lucky. We guys got a shed and everything like that. Instead of me keeping stuff in my trunk, which is
we're always seeing him pulling the mannequins, like dragging them. But no, he's great with being creative on how to make things harder. And I think that just goes to show how much he cares and wants to push us. And all of his sessions are very creative. I
mean, I think that's important, honestly. Like, you can say this even as a older goalkeeper that if the monotony of the same activities over and over again, eventually you're going to stagnate. And maybe it's even the activities are still beneficial, but because your brain is kind of shutting down because there's no new stimulation, it becomes very difficult to stay engaged and stay invested, especially through a long season.
Yeah. So what we do is Serge and I have kind of come up with this, game day training if I'm not, in the starting 11, where we just work on handling, but we do the same thing so I can get into repetition of this is how I get, comfortable, I get reps. But then during the real training sessions, he really mixes it up. But I kind of like that consistency of, okay, I know today I'm going to do this because it's going to help me with my handling. But then the other sessions that we do during the week are way different. So I think it's good to have a balance of being consistent, but also having new stuff thrown at you.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. So let's move on to this right here. I'm going to play this right here. So now we're going to move on here to 446. All right, here we go. So now we're actually in the goal. Okay, so we've made the progression into the goal now. So we've got a full size grid right here. Now this is near post behind the mannequin, clean catch, then shift and drop for a shot and distance and steer. So let's watch it real quick here. Shot, good steer. Here. So shot comes in from the near post, a little bit of obstructed view, drop, create distance, good steer away too. I think this is a great thing too. I think that you're recognizing based on the movement of that ball, based on that flight, and based on the fact that it's breaking away from you, the thing for you to do right there is to as quickly as possible steer that ball away from danger and play it into a good area.
And I think when I'm taking the first ball and having to move over into the middle with Serge, if I don't have those baby steps, I'm not getting there. If I take big, long, drawn out steps like I used to, I'm not getting there. So those baby steps just to get to Serge, even though it may not be you thinking as fast, I wouldn't have been able to move my feet to get to that ball if my feet were so long and wide, which I think people think, oh, if I take long steps, I'm going to get there faster. But no, it just throws me off and I'm not in a good position. I can't push to make that save. So and even then, if he didn't go that way and he went the opposite way of what I was moving, those baby steps helped me to go that way as well.
Yeah. So here, boom. So right from the shot right here, here's that little prep step, right? Which allows your body to reset.
Yeah.
And now you're in great shape right there as that ball comes in. See, that little step right there allows you that steer. You wouldn't have that if you didn't have that little step right there. In fact, if anything, you'd probably flail that back into the goal because you kind of be flat-footed there.
Yeah, and then the longer steps, I would have been falling backwards probably because I wouldn't be, in a good position.
Yeah. By the way, man, they are firing. Both of those two are just firing the ball. Like they're not taking it easy in any way whatsoever. Let's move to this right here. So now, as we go into, by the way, I love the changes of colors right here. Is that like a different part of the day, or is that like an artistic choice by Sergio? Like, what is that exactly?
We'll blame it
Filters?
on Serge and say it was artistic choice. Probably just the camera. He has a GoPro that he always brings, which is great. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. So let's okay. So let's go here to. So we'll go to 852. Oh, what happened here? The light just adjusted. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And okay. Yeah. So here, basically, what we're going to have right here is now the shot is in the middle. To spill, recover, make the save, spill, recover, showcase. And this is kind of going to show like kind of fantastic speed of movement and recovery for everyone to see right here. Shot, spill, great recovery movement, shape, space, recovery again, into position. That's an awesome sequence right there. And every single one, you didn't look like you were phased in any way whatsoever. You were more like, where's the space? What's the dangerous space? How do I affect that dangerous space? I think that's so important for young goalkeepers to see that. I kind of want to play that again here. Let's see if we can. What was it? Right here. Okay. All right. Because I want to pause this here. Boom. Spill. Okay. Again, panic situation. A lot of young goalkeepers, they get right back up. By then, it's too late. The ball's in the back of the net. You shape. You see how that negative shape is into the near post. So you're covering that gap.
Yeah.
So now they've got no angle now,
Mm-hmm.
which is fantastic. Even that save right there, that steer right there, you recognize that was a big space. So you've got to come across and cover that gap as fast as possible.
And right
now you're there.
I made 2 little small movements to adjust to where Sergio was. And I think that is key. Instead of just standing straight up and being like, oh, I'm here, you have to even just move with the ball, get the baby steps, even if you don't think you have time. The quick baby steps allows you to be in line with the ball, which is super key to making that save right there.
See, that's the thing. Because like, what if you just turned and run? Like you probably get slotted right there on that post.
Yeah.
Because you're not balanced.
Baby movement where you can stop right before he's about to hit it.
Ooh, that ball, man. These balls are brutal. I don't want to be in your sessions. Jeez.
Yeah.
They're hitting some.
Yeah, I heard Ian on y'all's podcast talking about how hard he hits it. And a funny story about him, we were in Utah for the Challenge Cup last year, and me, Obbs, and Devin were like, gosh, he's really been hitting it so hard lately. And we just noticed it in Utah, and we're like, maybe it's like the air. And so we were joking like, Ian, you might need to not hit it as hard. Like you are really killing our sessions. And so when he said that he really kicks it, I was like, oh, I totally agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's the funny because with the Scottish accent and the playful attitude that he's got and everything like that, it makes it sound like it's not that difficult. But like obviously, like
he like giggles. He's like, I'm not hitting it hard. We're like, okay.
All right, let's finish up with this play right here. This is at 9:54. Oh my God, look at that. We got the sun back. This is beautiful. Yeah. Okay. So this one, it's a tip over after stepping to the shot, then drop across, recognizing the bid touch and the smother low. So here, shot, great tip right there. Great reaction. Drop to create depth. Big touch and smother out. Okay, so this is something I want to bring up with you right now. A lot of young goalkeepers immediately go into a spread. They don't even think about the fact that like on a big touch, the best decision is to go down and smother that ball. Is that something that has been effective for you your whole life, and so you're just used to it? Or do you just feel like that's the most successful action in that time?
Yeah, Serge, if he's listening right now, he's probably laughing because we have really been working on that long touch. If I can go hands, I've got to go hands. I can't do anything but go hands because for me it works, but it's harder because I haven't really honed in on this as much, when I was younger. I'm still learning. So that long touch, I cannot go into a spread because it's me. But because I have long arms and long legs, like that is the perfect thing for me, and not spreading, like just going. And so we giggle like, oh, one day you'll do it consistently. And so I think reading the weight of the ball on that touch is so important because some people will want to stay or they'll want to do the spread, and that just doesn't work. You've got to go and you've got to commit to it, because if you hesitate even the slightest of a second, you're not getting there.
Yeah. And by the way, this comment just came through right here.
Oh, Ian.
You used to hold them shots at the Spirit. That's not a Scottish accent. Dear God, Ian, please I apologize for that profusely. If Saskia was right here, she would be giving me grief about it. But I gave it a shot.
Miss him. But yeah, the Spirit was great.
So let's. I want to go back. I want to go back to the play right here, again, because the first initial movement right here. On the tip, right? So shot comes in. As that ball's coming in, no, not that one right there. So I think it's right after that. It's not this play. Yeah, definitely not that play. That wasn't the one I wanted to show. This one right here. Okay, so as that ball comes in, boom. Okay, right here, that positive movement as that ball's hit. But oh no, that's not. This is not the one either. Okay, maybe this is it right here.
No, not that one.
It's not this one. Okay.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. It might be
that one,
This one. Yeah, we got it. Okay. So as the ball comes in, shot here. Okay. Right here, you recognize that flight of that ball is lifting towards the crossbar right there. And a lot of young goalkeepers, they would throw their hand up when we're talking about speed of movement right here. They would throw their hand up to try to get a touch to that ball. But you recognize where that ball's tracking, and instead you shift away from forward to and then attack. Mm-hmm. So you recognize you're not going to get to the ball before it gets to you. You've got to reach back and play it across like that. And then that's a great movement right there. So if there's anything you want to say about
I just think for that one, playing it over the bar, because I realize that I am higher, and if I do just go straight up, that's not clearing the bar. Mm-hmm. And I think for what I've learned in the pros is like, yeah, you can make the save, but can you make it into an area that is safe? So even if you can't catch the ball and you know you can get it over the post, like I have in a couple of the clips, like you're more safe than doing that than trying to catch and leaking it into a space that you don't want it in. Unless you're confident that you can catch or you can, parry into an area, that's fine. For me, it works to go over because I am so tall.
Yeah, and that would have gone like I don't know what I would have done right there. I get scored on, I guess, because I don't have that like that 10-foot wingspan or whatever it is that you've got right there. But then the drop right here on this ball right here. Okay, so here talking about speed here. Based on the approach, you're reading that trigger right there, right? So you're reading the trigger that the player is coming in to take a touch on the ball. And because of that, you're in that sprinter stance rather than a set stance because they're not going to take a shot. Right. That way you can identify the size of that touch and come in for that ball right there. Rather than wait for the player to make the move, you can basically force them to have to try to win that ball from you as you're coming in. So that ball's here. I just want to play that one more time not here. God, why do I keep doing this? It's so hard. It's so hard. Okay, here. Okay, so right there, you're basically forcing that player to have to try to come in at that ball because you're coming in at that ball.
Yeah.
And then you come in, boom, down.
And I think I don't know if you can really tell on the screen here, but he has clearly taken a longer touch to where I believe I can get there before he gets back there. And so not hesitating and just going is really key.
But this one right here, if we go to that one if we go to the one right afterwards right here, so if we go here, no, it's not that one right there. I think I just missed it. This one right here.
Yeah.
You recognize right there that that's not going to happen. And that's when you stay patient. And that's when you hold for that block right there.
Yeah, and I feel like you have to at least still go, but you have to be able to decelerate. So that's the tiny movements that we've been talking about today. If I'm lunging, then he could just go right through my legs.
Okay.
So quick movements.
Hold on, we got another comment coming in right here. All right, and this one's from Downs as Z1. And he goes, Katie, tell them how hard I would hit it and about the training environment we had to prepare you for going pro and off seasons, the GKs around you and the standards we had.
Yeah, that's Zach. We've trained.
Oh, Zach Downs. Oh, what's up, Zach?
Yeah. He has a great training environment in Dallas, which is where I'm from. But yeah, he definitely hits it hard. The training environment's good. But I think there is where I really learned how to handle. And so I'm reading these comments while I'm talking.
Which are great. Thanks. Perfect Mike Myers impersonation, Ian McCalden says. Oh, well, there you go. Which is great because he was doing a caricature. So I'm doing a caricature of a caricature, which is what you're not supposed to do in comedy. Anyway, moving on from from there. Let's talk about this right here. What advice do you kind of give to like young goalkeepers out there whose timing is quote unquote off? Because that's something that like you hear a lot of times from goalkeeper coaches. You know, they tell their players, oh, their timing's off, but they don't really give any sort of context to that. So kids just think that means that they're moving too slow or moving too fast. And then they kind of get into their heads about like how to move and all that.
Yeah, and I don't know if everyone has the same resources, but for us, the most important thing for me in terms of watching how I move is film. And so I know that not everyone has the access to that. But I would just say, watching yourself or doing practice runs, working on your small movements. Before I got to the Spirit, I was like, oh, speed ladders, like, no. But Ian was like, you need to do your speed ladders like Aubrey. So I started doing the speed ladder, and I really do think that you may think it's not helpful, but the speed ladder is so helpful. And we would do it before practice, and it showed you how to move. And then from there, you can move on. But you have to realize if you're taking too big of a step, but you have, like you said, if they don't know how they're moving, you have to realize how you're moving. So you have to figure out how you can rewatch yourself or catch yourself, something like that.
And I think, you know, you brought up, by the way, I love the way you just said that. You're like, you have to use your speed ladder just like Aubrey. Like, it sounded like a parent talking about like the older sibling. They're like, look, Aubrey eats the carrots. You should be able to eat the carrots. If you want to be able to move like Aubrey, then you got to eat the carrots. Yeah,
you got to do the weird things she does. And so I just kind of embraced it. We would always make fun of her, but she was like, I'm telling you guys. So yeah.
Wait, hold on. What are some of the other weird things that Aubrey could? I don't know if you're at liberty to say some of the weird things or if she would care, but.
No, she was great. Honestly, I can't say enough how thankful I am to have been able to train under her. The things I've learned today from her: hard work. She never missed a practice. Even when we had games, she was there the next day training. She would fight Michael, our strength coach. Like, can I please do extra?
I thought you meant like fight, like physically fight. Like, she's like, I would spar with the strength coach.
Punches. And then Ian obviously had such a great laughter that you always wanted to be around. So from her, enjoyment, hard work, and I think I've been able to carry that to racing. But yeah.
I want to talk about this because, like, you know, we were talking about like physical qualities, right? And I think a lot of goalkeepers kind of get thrown into this category of like, well, they're tall, they're slow, they're short, they're fast, or whatever. But in reality, you can make yourself faster, you can make yourself slower by the wrong movements. So what are some of the activities that you've done? You know, you've been talking about, obviously, that, you know, Sergio's been working with you on speed of movement. What, outside of just the speed ladder, are there any other activities that you've been doing that have really increased your speed of movement when it comes to reaction speed and all that?
Yeah. So for me, I like to do like small footwork drills around cones that I have with my strength coach back at home. Here, I know Michelle does a lot of vision training, which can help with, you know, your mental side of knowing where the ball is. But I also think having a strong core, having power, you don't have to have strong legs, but working in the gym, being able to be explosive. I think me and Serge were talking about how, because I am so tall, it helps me. But for some shorter people, they might have to be more explosive. They have to be stronger. But also finding movements that work for you is like very key. And so I think you have to kind of get creative with the footwork and knowing what you need to work on. That's just all I would say for me.
But I love what you said about getting creative with the footwork, because I think that's honestly one of the. I had this conversation with a young goalkeeper a couple of weeks ago, and I said, if you want to come out once a week with me and you want me to put you through cones, like, then you're doing yourself a disservice, because that's something you can do on your own. Like, you don't need me to do those types of activities. You know, you can work on that stuff. I can give you the information and you can go back and work on that. But like, you want to be in my environment, you want to be working on game scenarios, you know, and reading situations and all those sorts of things, you know. So I think it's really important when young goalkeepers hear somebody like yourself at your level going like, I'll take the cones and I'll go and do this thing. Guys, that's what it takes to get to that level. I'm not just saying it because I don't want to waste my time with it. I'm saying it because it's the amount of work and the amount of repetitions to make it muscle memory so that you're comfortable with it. And I love what you said about the eyes, you know, Michelle talking about the eyes, because speed of play really does have to do with the eyes, because you have to train your eyes to be able to move with the speed. And I think that's a problem. A lot of young goalkeepers, they're not moving at the speed because their eyes are too slow. They're kind of like, I know that was a weird impression, but I think you get what I'm talking about.
I got it. But I also think the point is like, you're doing the speed ladders like I thought. I was like, oh, this is like, I'm not going to do the speed ladder. I don't feel like it's working. But then you actually commit to it and you do it. and you see changes. So even if you think it is stupid or the cones aren't really helping, like the more you do it, the more you believe in it, the more it starts to help. And I feel like people don't do it because they think it's stupid, but it actually has worked for me.
Yeah. I mean, and I think, again, it has to be about what works for you. So if there's people out there who go, well, speed ladders don't work for me, is it the speed ladder or is it your kind of your block about the speed ladder? You know, because I think that's on. And by the way, guys, it doesn't have to be a ladder. It can be cones. It can be any sort of hurdles, whatever it is that's going to teach your feet to move. You know, and is that something that, like, Katie, like when you're talking like the speed and strength people, you know, at the club, you know, it's a conversation between you, them, and Sergio on what it is that you need to work on outside from that standpoint, from a proprioception standpoint, let's just say.
Yeah. Well, we have a strength coach here at Racing. Her name's Bree. And I think we've had conversations about how I need to work on my baby movements. Like I can lunge, I can make big movements, but it's all about the small movements. And so she's been able to prescribe to me other movements that I can do to help that. And I think that's really helpful, is where he can talk to her, tell her what I need to work on, and she's able to come up with different things. And if you don't have people like that, I mean, you can get creative on the internet. I'm sure there's a lot of other stuff out there. But for me, that's been helpful to have them communicating and helping me.
See, and I just having that support network, and I think a lot of young goalkeepers out there go like, oh yeah, but she's at a professional club, so she's got this and this and that. Look, you may not have those resources within your specific area, but you can go out there and you can, like you're saying, you can find the information online. You know, there's a lot of apps out there.
Message people, you know, we have a lot of social media these days. For me, even I watch a lot of like goalkeeping specific Instagram, you know, videos. And I think just learning from other people about little weird things that they do that help them, I mean, it doesn't hurt to try them out.
You know, absolutely. Absolutely. So as we kind of start wrapping up right here, and again, I apologize for the technical issues that we had with your headphones. Did it have something to do with StreamYard, or was it just your computer? Like, what was it specifically that was happening with the with the headphones there? Was it were they dying, or
Oh, my AirPods just are really bad. Doesn't connect.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah. Okay, gotcha. Okay. So
yeah, I started the bad luck, so I'll apologize. That's on me.
Okay.
What is the bad luck?
Okay, so it was just those things happen with AirPods. So anyway, so as we're starting to wrap up right here, what are some of the mistakes that young goalkeepers make when they're trying to improve their speed of movement, and what suggestions would you give them counter that, basically?
Wait, can you say that again? You were frozen for a really long time.
Okay. Am I frozen now?
No, I can hear you.
Okay. Okay. So basically I was saying, kind of like as we're wrapping up right here, like what kind of mistakes have you seen like goalkeepers make when it regards to working on their speed of movement, and like what activities or advice would you counter those mistakes they've made?
Yeah. I'll just use me as an example. I think for me, having to learn and understand the idea that I can move quick and I can get all the way over there, but sometimes you've got to set early and you've just got to go, because the more you try to cover ground, but they're already striking the ball and you think they're going that way, it hasn't helped me. So you have to be able to move quick, but also be watching the play and understand you may not get to the position that you want, but you've got to set and you've got to go. And I think that's something that Sergio has really helped me understand, is that, yeah, I'm not in the best position I could be in, but I'm still in a position where I'm in my good body shape. My feet aren't far apart and I can just go and I can make the save. It doesn't have to be pretty, but it's not going in the net.
Yeah. And that's really what it comes down to right there. It doesn't have to be pretty as long as it doesn't go in the net.
And definitely again, be patient. For me, I work on it still every single day. And there's days that I'm like, oh, I got it down. I got it. And there's some days where I'm like, oh, come on. Like, you know what you're doing. And so I think it's like we talked about, it takes time to understand your movements. And it's something that I'm still working on. But it's really important if you want to reach the highest level. So, yeah.
There you go, guys. That's all you got to do. Just follow Katie's advice right there. That's all you have to do. Follow Katie's advice right there. You will score goals against Bayern Munich in PK shootouts.
Yeah.
And you will make saves in PK shootouts.
Yeah.
I was going to pull those up, but I figured like people broke those down ad nauseum with you right now. So there's no reason to pull those up.
Yeah. But then again, for the PKs, not going early, you got to be ready, but you can't go early. So you have to be patient.
Yep.
Yeah.
Use that wingspan. Use that wingspan.
Exactly. Exactly.
Well, Katie, first off, thanks for taking the time. Obviously this has been, an interesting season with Racing Louisville. Some highs and lows, but obviously it's a good environment that you've been in right now for you to keep developing. That Women's Cup experience. I mean, again, that in my opinion, like if that's the highlight of the season, for you, I think it's been a successful season by 1,000%. If anybody out there wants to connect with you directly, like where's the best place for them to reach out?
I would just say Instagram message. I don't know. I check them kind of regularly. I think after the whole Women's Cup, it was a little like, whoa. But now that that's settled, I'm definitely more free.
Well, shout out to the Lavender Legion because they were definitely yeah.
Love those guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're great.
They're very, very supportive. That is for sure. And guys, obviously, if you have a guest suggestion or a topic suggestion, contact at insidethe18media.com or at Goalkeeper Podcast on all social media platforms. Shout out to this mysterious a person in Europe right now who may or may not be coaching in the city of Liverpool that suggested Katie for the podcast.
Thanks, Ian.
Honestly, just obviously just awesome, to be able to have, people like yourself, who are willing to take the time in the middle of the day. Guys, if you want to know more about what's going on with Saskia and her headphone issues, you can reach out to her at Saskia_Weber on all social media platforms. And Omar Zini at ProGK Academy _. We have one more comment right here that we got to throw up there from Ian McCalden. Year a star.
He's my biggest fan. I'm so grateful.
He basically he's everyone's pit fan though. I mean, my gosh, talk about a supportive guy out there.
I met him at the airport when I first got to DC, and I'm like, he seems really, really normal. Like this is gonna be great. A couple training sessions go by, and then the weirdness just comes right out. But he's so great. Everyone should have an Ian in their corner.
Well, he's got stories for days too. My gosh, not even goalkeeping wise. All those crazy adventures he went on and stuff like that. Oh my god,
we should have a movie written about him. I've told him that before. But
there absolutely should be. Speaking of movies, guys, if you want to check out some comedy, michaelmagicomedy.com's got all my tour schedules. I will be in Atwater Village tonight. If you're watching this stream and you're in the Southern California area, I'll be in Wisconsin, Iowa, and Chicago potentially at the end of October. That is all the time on Inside the 18, and we are out. Later, guys.